Hey guys, Joe with Total Justice Gaming here with a new deck profile for you. As you can already tell, we're going to be looking at Fortress Maximus. The card so big I can't even fit it entirely on camera with my current setup. We'll be running down the stats. We got a surprise hit for Cerebros. The deck is actually a overwhelming advantage deck, so this is what I call maximum advantage. You can find the full deck list down in the description box over at, coincidentally, Fortress Maximus, the website. So, Fort Max on his own is an 815-2 Titan who is ranged, whose head is Cerebros that gives bold 1, tough 1. His ability is 1 that stacks and you flip at least a orange and a black, do 2 damage to each enemy, then flip this to alt mode after the battle. His alt mode is still a Titan in ranged. He's still an 815-2 with the ability that says when you flip at least a white and blue, do 1 damage to the attacker. This begins with Cerebros City Commander with him in head mode. So, Fort Max, big dude. This is one of my first Titan decks. I immediately wanted to run Fortress Maximus. It is no secret if you listen to these videos or chat with me, I am a huge fan of the Japanese series, specifically Headmasters and Super God Master Force. There will be a Genrai deck later on down the road. I really wanted to build Fort Max as soon as he came in. I was really hoping it was him over Scorponok. Not to say I don't want to build a Scorponok deck down the road, but Fortress Maximus is one of my favorite Autobots. Not just because of the IDW continuity, but again, because of him just being cool. He has a really fun lore in the US comics. He has a really cool lore in the IDW continuity. And he's really neat in the Japanese series. So I got really interested and decided to make this my first Titan deck. Moving on down the road, we're going to be looking at Cerebros. Cerebros himself, let me zoom in real quick now that I can. Alright, so Cerebro himself, there we go, is a 681, just the body mode. He's ranged, and he says, he's bold 1, tough 1, and says, when this battles and you flip at least a white, orange, black, and blue, you may play an upgrade from your scrap pile onto this. So I was thinking about how we get this to work. What head would best suit him. So in order to be sure to flip and trigger his ability as often as possible, I decided to go Clobber. So Clobber makes Cerebros right off the top of the bat a bold 4, tough 1 character, meaning we're going to be able to hit that ability very easily. And then it occurred to me, we're only 1 color short of needing to hit overwhelming advantage. So I decided just to take that 1 step further and build the overwhelming advantage deck with Fortress Maximus, because while it's possible to hit it with Fort Max in Titan mode, it's even easier to hit it with Cerebros, because with Clobber, he's a bold 4. So you're almost always able to guarantee, not always, I've tested this, there have been times where I don't hit it, but more often than not, when I play Overwhelming Advantage, I can get it almost every time. Do I have to worry about reflective damage? Yes. There is also a lot more ability to be able to negate the shot. But with Overwhelming Advantage, it just says when a character attacks, if it upgrades to an enemy. So you just hit somebody without a hollow matter projector, or you hit Motor Master and just blow him out of the water to ensure that the next time you Overwhelming Advantage, you can swing into them. let me look at reflective damage, because I wonder if reflective covers everybody. Or reflect damage, excuse me. One of your characters would take yeah. So the only thing we really got to worry about is reflect damage. That's just one card. We can deal with that. We do have to be careful, however, if they see this coming. Fort Max can be built in so many different ways. It's why I really like this. This is just my variant of it. So with Cerebros, like I said, we're just one color short of overwhelming advantage with him. So that's the route I decided to take. With Clobber, he's a bold 4. So you're going to be able to hit it pretty easily. Not all the time. I do want to stress that. Not all the time, but it's so much easier to pull it off when we are bold 4. So then we will go down one further, and we will look at Clobber. Clobber is just your typical head. He's at least a 4-star head, so he has at least 4 health as opposed to 2. He is still bold 3, so your final swing with Clobber is at least going to hurt. It's very possible you can overwhelming advantage with Clobber, given the right circumstance. You got to be able to use Escape Capsule to move everything off Cerebros onto Clobber. I am also looking, and it is not in the deck, but I am looking into a way of putting in Scavenge the Battlefield into the deck as well. That way we can have a alternative way to move equipment from one body to another. But let's move into it. So now we have got the battle deck. So we're running 2 copies of Unflinching Courage. This gives us bold 2. Gives us a blue-black upgrade. Autobot only, obviously. So giving Fort Max the ability while it's dashing Fort Max. Bold 3, meaning we're going to be able to hit overwhelming advantage very easily. Again, I stress this, and we'll stress this all the time. Easily does not mean always. We're running 2 copies of Combat Dagger. This is a orange-black upgrade. That gives us bold 1, meaning Fort Max is then add bold 2, tough 1. Running 1 copy of Piercing Blaster. This just gives us Pierce 3 or a white upgrade. And then to round out the weapons, we are running 3 copies of Handheld Blaster. We could actually equip Handheld Blaster this time around because it will give us bold 2. It's there for the double blue pip, and that's all the weapons. For armors, we are running 2 copies of Reflex Circuits. We are seeing an increase in melee characters, especially with beasts. So this actually gives us plus 2 armor onto Fort Max, making him a 4 defense potentially, but 3 defense is still pretty solid in this game. It is our blue-green upgrade. 2 copies of Sparring Gear. This gives us tough 2, meaning Fort Max on defense is a bold 1, tough 3. So this is our orange-green upgrade. This was just something I tried to think of that would do well. This really does help us when we shift into alt mode on him, meaning we're not always pretty much guaranteed to be able to continue to shoot at the opposing character on a consistent defensive turn. 1 copy of Medic's Protective Field. This gives us Safeguard 3. It is also another white upgrade and lets us repair at least 1 damage from Max. Then I can finally say this. The Autobot version of Improvised Shield gives us tough 1. It's our double orange. Gives Max tough 2. Which, you know, in these days, tough isn't really what it meant to be, considering there's so much pierce, but it does give us the ability to hit the alt mode blue-white trigger more often. For our utilities, we're running 3 copies of spare parts. This is our white-green utility. This also lets us scrap this if they try to scrap an armor or a weapon. So we can pop this instead. 2 copies of Staggering Might because we have Fort Max, making him Bold 2, Tough 2, making it very easy to at least hit his triggers a little bit easier. Also potentially Overwhelming Advantage because we're going to be able to hit into these whites a little easier at Bold 2. And 2 copies of Escape Capsule. So when the upgraded characters deploys his head, put this and any other upgrade that were on the upgraded character onto the deployed character. This is just another version of Scavenge the Battlefield, just specifically designed for the head. Combat or actions in this deck. Of course, we're running 3 copies of Height Advantage. This gives us Bold 4. Only works with the Titan, so only works when we are Fort Max. After that, it is just another blue pip for Cerebros and Clobber. The key card for the deck, Overwhelming Advantage. Equip all the colors, and when you swing and flip all the colors, do 15 damage to an enemy. This is much more easier done with Cerebros. Or excuse me, deploy head also works when Cerebros pops off Fort Maximus. My apologies. This is easier to do as Cerebros than Fortress Maximus, I found out by playtesting and doing some solitaire. The reason is because Fort Max is only as bold as we make him. Cerebros naturally, with Clobber as the head, as I stated before, comes out as a bold 4 character. Meaning it's going to be very, very easy. And again, I keep stressing this because I want to make this known. Not guaranteed, but more often than not, you are going to be able to pull off Overwhelming Advantage as Cerebros over Fort Max. Still being able to do 15 damage to an enemy is really, really strong. It blows out a lot of characters just right out of the water instantly. With Briscoe and all the other life heads, that's going to critically damage them to the point where they're only at their 2 health or 3 health. So they will live through the barrage, but they will just be able to be taken out by one of your lesser units or just on the next swing. You're running 3 copy of Hold the Line. Hold the Line is a white-green. It says whenever one of your characters defends, repair damage from the defender, and it cannot take more attack damage this battle than the number of stars of the character attacking him. So Max is a pretty big dude, so everybody swinging up of him is going to be limited in their damage. I do believe this limits their Pierce as well, meaning their Pierce cannot go above their star value, so this can be really good. My only concern in running it, but this was one of the very few white-green actions I could scrounge up that was decent. My only problem is now since we have the heads, star values increase to around often the 9 to 13 star value. So that does kind of limit it, but we do have more bold and more Pierce, especially Pierce now than ever. So whatever Pierce mitigation we can get, we need. So we're running 3 copies of Hold the Line. Running 2 copies of Scouting Mission. Scouting Mission just lets us ping Max or Cerebros for 1 and draw 2 cards. 2 copies of Study Shot. I really debated in running this. The only reason this made it into the deck is because it's a blue-black. It's a +2 damage pump, which is fine. I flip back and forth so much between this and Leap into Battle for the +3. The only reason I put this in was because of the blue-black and the fact that it was a damage pump. We need to be able to flip as many multicolors as possible to be able to get Overwhelming Advantage off, and to be able to get Fort Max's modes and Cerebros' abilities to trigger. 2 copies of Precision Fire, move, damage. Choose a mode, do 1 damage to each character in that mode. We have body modes. and alt mode, so we can ping everybody in those modes just for something. Which, pinging them for more than one damage, it's good. I wish I could find other better cards that were orange black. Rock Toss would have been in here, but this does one to each character in that mode as opposed to just a character, so I put this in over Rock Toss. And then 2 copies of Designated Target. It gives all my characters +2. We're a single soldier unit in this deck, so just give me Max Pierce 2 just to go in and do some Pierce is good. It's also a double black pip, so that helps us out. That is the rundown for Fort Max. Some of the other Max stuff we can chat about. I try my best to make this deck as even as possible. The deck is running a total of 17 oranges, 17 blues, 10 whites, 13 greens, and 16 blacks. It's running 17 actions, 8 weapons, 8 armors, and 7 utilities. We are a 27 health deck. You can find all the statistics down over at Fortress Maximus, the site. And guys, that rounds out my Fort Max deck, Maximum Advantage. I hope you guys enjoy it. We'll be back next week. We may be looking at a bunch of Decepticon stuff I've been working on because, I love my Decepticons. Or we may be looking at another Autobot deck. I just haven't decided which. So we may be trucking, we may be visiting the Bayou. Not sure which, but guys, thanks for watching. Leave comments, like the video, tell me what you think. I would love to hear from you guys. I'm always looking to improve these decks. I can't tell you how many revisions this deck and Bayou Bully went through. Just from retinkering and looking at it or giving it a day. It's like, well, I can do better. So, again, like, subscribe, do all the fun things. All hail Megatron.